Today's episode is being brought to you by Goya Foods. If it's Goya, it has to be good.
At every turn, whether it's a big league broadcaster, whether it's a radio host, there's always people out there that are super critical and that say you can't do it. And I always think there's two types of people when somebody tells you can't do something. There's a type of person that says, you're right, that guy's being honest with me, you're right. Or there's the person like me that says, screw you, I'm going to show you and prove you wrong.
Sacks in the morning. Sports, money, life. Steve Sacks.
Hi, Steve Sacks here with Sacks in the Morning, and today is Thursday, the 22nd, and it's going to be a great day today because we have a great guest. We have the great FP Santangelo, my former Northern California professional baseball buddy. FP played 7 years in the big leagues with the Expos, Giants, Dodgers, and the Oakland A's. He was definitely in the Rookie of the Year running back in 1996. You may know him better from his past and current jobs hosting the evening show on KMBR, now in the Bay Area, the sports station there that's home of the Giants and the 49ers. I'm a big fan of his, and, I want to welcome him to the broadcast today. FP, great to have you here, buddy. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. I was fourth in Rookie of the Year. You were first, so you won it. I didn't even take the bronze, for God's sake.
The bronze, that's all right. Hey, I forgot to mention, too, that you were 10 years in broadcasting with the Washington Nationals, and you did such a great job there. And I just know you as a great dude and former Sacramento baseball native here. But one of the greatest things I like about you and your family, FP, is your dad was my PE coach when I was at Marshall High School. And Mr. Santangelo was the heartthrob of all the girls in the school. Woo, Mr. Santangelo. He was great. He was just like a matinee idol, but he had a great arm. Your dad used to say, hey, Sax, I'll tell you what, go out there on the end and I'll just throw it up as high and far as I can. And I used to outrun the guys on track. I don't know if I told you that, FP, but I would just outrun these dudes, and your dad would throw it up like into the heavens, and I would run under that thing and score a touchdown. It was academic when we did it all the time.
He was a pitcher in high school, and he got scouted by the Yankees. He threw like 94, and he did something to his shoulder his senior year. I mean, we've all heard this story before, but he went on to play quarterback in college in New Mexico. So he was a great athlete. I think I got some of my athletic ability from my dad. He had a good arm.
Yeah, he sure did. He was a great dude, too. Your dad was on and off the school campus. Your dad was really held such in high esteem because he was a nice man. I mean, great looking guy, nice guy, talented. You can see that in you, too. So.
Well, thanks, dude. He's awesome, and it's been so nice being home back here in Northern California. I was on the East Coast for 11 years, and now I get to drive. I live in the city in San Francisco. I drive an hour and a half home.
Right.
I see my mom and dad. I spend weekends with them. I get to see my kids a lot more. So
nice.
I'm super blessed and lucky to be back home here in San Francisco.
Now, how many kids you got, FP?
Two that I know of. My son is 27. My daughter's 25. They're awesome. And
are they that?
Yeah, my son's engaged.
Wow.
And, life goes fast, man.
That's so great.
I'm really, really thankful to be around them because, Steve, you get into your own little bubble and you start doing the broadcast in DC, and you're living on the East Coast, and you get into your groove and you have a life there. And all of a sudden you look up and a decade's passed by, and your parents are older, your kids are older, and you know as well as I do that we all sacrifice so much for our careers in baseball, and it's all about us for a long time, and we're doing whatever we can to get to the big leagues, to stay in the big leagues, and then our career after baseball is really tough. And I don't think enough is done for former baseball players and athletes when we're done because, our whole life we're just trained to do one thing, be a good teammate, throw a baseball, catch a baseball. And there's nothing really trains us for life after baseball. And a lot of baseball players, as you know, we really struggle with what's next because it's all we know what to do is play baseball.
Yeah. The MLBPA is doing some things about that. That's a good thing that you brought up because they're starting to have some forums, and they're taking guys that are like in their late 30s that have retired, and they're like, well, what do I do now? And I talked to a guy yesterday who said they might bring me in there to speak on some of these issues, like in spring training, which is good because that point that you made, I mean, these guys are still young. They're intelligent. They've obviously accomplished a lot in their lives. It's like, what do I do now? They're really young men still in their late 30s. They got another life to live, right? So they got to figure this out.
Well, we're all part of a tribe, and I did a lot of work with PTSD veterans in D.C., and I did a lot of military stuff, and it's like, we have value to the guy next to us. We're part of a tribe. We're teammates. And then all of a sudden that's taken away from us and we don't know what to do. Now, there's no similarity between baseball players and military, as you well know. But it's just like when we assimilate back into society, nobody teaches us how to be a dad. Nobody teaches us how to be a husband. Nobody teaches us how to go to soccer practice. It's all we know is go to the ballpark, be valuable to the guy next to us, be a good teammate. And there's no adrenaline rush that can compare to hitting a home run in front of 40,000 people. So then when we're done, it's like, what do we do next? And there's no adrenaline rush to, when you're in the military and you go into combat and then you're done, it's like, what do I do now? So when they rotate out, they're lost. And a lot of times when we rotate out of being athletes, we're lost. So I've done a lot of work with veterans and just, trying to help them assimilate back into like being normal. Some of my buddies, some of my bros that served our country 5 or 6 tours, I tell them one of the greatest things I can realize about them is that they can sit at a bar and have a beer with me and act normal after all they've done for our country.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, we talked about that and the fact that we talked about our kids. I have 2 kids, FP. I have one here, my daughter, and I have one in heaven who, as you know, lost his life earlier this year. So he was doing just what you said. He gave his life for this country and wanted to make it better. So that cause that you had, that you were involved with back in DC is amazing. And I really love the fact that you gave your time and understand what veterans do.
Absolutely. And your son's a hero, man. That's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome that he's not with us anymore, but like when you make the ultimate sacrifice for our country, there is no greater thing you could do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. FP, we talk a lot about leadership and mentors and how important mentors are on this program. It's all about positivity and making this a better place. I know Felipe Alou was instrumental in your career when you were younger. So tell us a little bit about that mentorship and what that did for you.
Well, Steve, you've had coaches along the way that have influenced you on the baseball field. You have great hitting coaches. You talk about Tommy Lasorda a lot, how he motivated you and he believed in you.
Frank Howard was a great hitting coach for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to me, leadership is more than telling me where to put my hands and like how to run the bases or how to field a ground ball. When you look back on the great leaders in your life and the great influences your life had coaches, they're the ones that like teach you how to be a man and how to be a person too. And so like you're walking down the street and you're thinking about, well, Felipe said this. And I was lucky enough to play for him in A-ball for 2 years in West Palm Beach. And he didn't teach us just how to be baseball players. He taught us how to be professionals, how to carry ourselves professionally, and then just how to be men and just be accountable. And, he'd been around baseball for so long, he could read body language. He knew if you were fake tough, fake scared, fake confident, if you were scared. And so when I think back about like Jerry Weinstein at Sacramento City College, and I think about Felipe Alou with the Expos and all the years we spent together, they formed me into the man that I am now at 56 years old. So I still think about things they said, now that I'm in broadcasting, and it all applies. It's applicable to life. So, there's coaches along the way. Like, what do you remember about my dad? You don't remember that, he was a great X's and O's guys at James Marshall High School. You remember that he was cool and he threw the football to you. Mm-hmm. And, to me, it's more than just, let's go win a game or teach me how to hit, teach me how to field a ground ball, teach me how to run the bases. It's the guys like Felipe and Jerry Weinstein, and even my dad as a high school football coach that have had such a great effect on me, like who I am as a person. And those are the guys that, and to this day, Steve, like I gravitate to coaches. Like, I find a guy like, I really like this guy not because the Giants won 107 games, but like Gabe Kapler, like he's a guy that's like deeper than baseball. And I think he's influencing men. And you've had guys, Steve, that were assistant coaches, that were great coaches, but then all of a sudden they're managers, and there's a difference between standing up in front of the room, in front of everybody, and influencing people's lives. And some guys are good at it, some guys aren't. It doesn't make them good people or bad people because they can't be a head coach. But there's a certain honor and responsibility that comes with teaching and mentoring, and those are some of the biggest ones in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know the other day on the phone we were talking about where you were at this conference that was teaching men how to be the best version of themselves. And I think I shared with you the fact that I went to a men's group for 12 years on my own. After my divorce, we were, asked to go to 10 counseling sessions. My wife was, I was, my kids were, just to make sure everybody was okay. FP, I got so much enrichment from this. I went to this men's group for 12 years on my own because it was great for me. And the perspective that I gained from listening to these other really smart men and the things they were going through, I was like, man, I am very fortunate. I don't have to go through what he's going through. And then the things that I was saying was starting to help other people. So it was a great full circle type of a thing that I went through. And I'm so glad I went to that. It helped me immensely.
Yeah, in this class I went to, it was about self-mastery and being the best version of yourself. And it was men and women, and it was 13 of us, and we were in a class, and we just shared our stories, our life stories, and then we had drills.
That's great.
And I think, Steve, even when you introduced me today as, the Expos, Giants, A's, Dodgers, and fourth and rookie of the year and broadcaster for the Nats, I think sometimes in life we get so caught up in our labels and that we begin to live those labels. And what it is, it's about being authentic and being just a really good person. It really doesn't matter what you do or, the label you have. It's about being authentic. And I think somewhere along the way, I got lost in all that when I was a Major League Baseball player, and look at me, I'm on TV and I'm making money and this and that. And then all of a sudden I'm a big league broadcaster and the Nationals won the World Series. So you start to live out these labels and these titles in your life where you're not being your true authentic self. And sometimes we all get lost along the way. And it's good to look at yourself from a different perspective. We get in this little box and we stay in this little box all the time. And to step outside of the box and realize that, your career was great, Steve. You're one of the best hitters I've ever been around. You had a wonderful career that we all wish we could have. But that was a different lifetime ago, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not Steve Sachs the Dodger to me.
Nope.
You're Steve Sachs the good dude that I've got to know after baseball more than when we played baseball.
Thank you.
And to me, that's important. We can just carry that label around oh, I was rookie of the year. That's great. Those are wonderful accomplishments, but that's not who you are. You're just a good dude, and you're an authentic dude. You've always been yourself. And to me, that's more important than I'm the CEO of this, or I drive a Mercedes-Benz, or whatever. It's about the person that you are, not the title that you have. And it took me a while to learn that, and I'm just kind of resetting and trying to be my authentic self with everybody I come across. And the shocking part about it, Steve, is the relationships I've built in San Francisco since I've gotten back home because I'm trying to be more authentic are real relationships. It's not just let's have the broadcaster for the Nationals at our event. They're people don't even know what I do here. And they're just FP, come to this. It's great. Or I meet this person and I'm making deeper connections with people because of this.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly about, the things you say about this was things that we did in our lifetime, and sometimes are tough, especially baseball. FP is filled with adversity. There, you fail 7 of 10 times that you go out there. And how did you deal with that? How did you deal with the fact that, I got to get through this?
Well, some of us failed 8 out of 10 times, Steve, but that's a story for a different story for a different show.
I've been there a lot too.
Dude, stop. You got 200 hits twice in your career. Stop.
Actually 3 times, but who's counting? But go ahead.
No, I don't want to say story because that's an incredible accomplishment in and of itself. 200 hits in a season is ridiculous. But you're used to adversity, and I think adversity makes us all stronger and a better person. We're all scared to fail, but sometimes failing's awesome. Sometimes failing's the best thing that could happen to you because you realize what you did wrong. You reset. It makes you a stronger person. And at the time, it sucks.
FP, I've said this 4,000 times on this podcast, and our producers are in here and they're kind of snickering at me because they know what I'm going to say, is failure is critical to being successful. You have to go through the land of failure. If you don't, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to know how to fix things if you don't go through failure? I mean, Michael Jordan is famous for talking about, thank God I failed. It's critical.
But it's how you handle it too. A lot of people fail and they go, okay. But that used to be fuel in my tank. If I failed at something, I wasn't good at something. Well, now it's going to make me stronger. It's make me have to deal with adversity. It's going to make me realize the mistakes I made. And hopefully when I come out on the other side of it, I'm a better person for it. And I fixed whatever I did wrong. But could you imagine if you read a book where the whole book was just success, 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 success. You'd be reading it going this book sucks. Half of the story plots in great books and great movies are somebody dealing with failure. Yeah. And there's a part of that always takes a twist or a turn. And that's life. I mean, we always go through things, Steve. You just went through something, a very traumatic experience. I did too. And when you go through life and you have these ups and downs, it helps you come out the other side and hopefully be a stronger person, be a better person. But we're also scared of failure. We're all scared of going through adversity. But when we're in it, it sucks, right? You get that feeling in your stomach. You're just like, oh man, this sucks. This is horrible. You get emotional. But then when you come out the other side, hopefully you come out a stronger, better version of the person you were before you went through adversity. And adversity could be, it's different for everybody. It doesn't have to be this huge thing that you go through or a huge experience. It could just be like, there's little trials and tribulations throughout the course of every day, and just notice them. That's the biggest thing. Sometimes we go through life with blinders on and we're just super comfortable, but just like look around and notice all these things. Notice your little failures, notice your little successes, take note of it, and just be more in tune with what's going on.
Let's take a brief break for our sponsor. Thanks to Goya for their support of today's episode. It's no wonder Goya's commitment to excellence is the cornerstone of the company credo. If it's Goya, it has to be good. This simple yet deeply resonant pledge is the evolution of Goya Foods as a leader in the Latin American food industry and a trusted American brand. Al Hendrickson Toyota, it's always worth the drive. When you make the drive to Al Hendrickson Toyota, you're getting an experience that will make you want to return again and again. Visit in person in South Florida or visit online to see the inventory of new, pre-owned, and certified pre-owned vehicles, proving Al's got it all at every step of the car buying process. Wherever you may be shopping from, Al's got value, Al's got selection, Al's got deals, Al's got service, Al's got the right team. It's always worth the drive to Al Hendrickson Toyota. Al Hendrickson Toyota is the #1 volume Toyota dealer in the Southeast region. Online at alhendricksontoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And now, back to our conversation. How do you stay so motivated? I mean, you're like a ball of positivity wrapped in a bunch of reality too, because you understand the other sides that, failure, everything is not easy. But how do you stay so positive, FP? Because that's really part of the allure for you. People love listening to you because of your upbeat nature, you're witty and all that, but you got this positive underpinning that people are attracted to that. So why is that important to you?
Well, I don't know. I've achieved everything in my life by being positive, Steve. I was always too short, too slow, didn't have enough talent, not enough ability. I went to Cal on a baseball scholarship and I wasn't playing. I went to my coach and asked him if I was going to play, and he said no. He said, just use your scholarship for a great education. I said, thanks for your honesty.
Really?
And I'm like, I'm going to show this guy. And I went back to Sac City. I went to Miami. I got a scholarship. I got drafted in the 20th round. I signed for $1,000. So I've always been kind of a salmon swimming upstream and having to prove myself at every level, at every turn, whether it's a big league broadcaster, where it's a radio host. There's always people out there that are super critical and that say you can't do it. And I always think there's two types of people. When somebody tells you can't do something, there's a type of person that says, you're right. You're right. That guy's being honest with me. You're right. Or there's the person like me that says, screw you. I'm going to show you and prove you wrong. So I've kind of always been that person. And I'm not always positive, Steve. I have my moments where, like, I'll start to feel sorry for myself. I'll get negative, and then somebody like my kids will check me like, Dad, you're being super negative today. I'm like, oh, thanks. But it's not always like, rainbows and unicorns. It's, it takes a lot of work to be positive. It's super easy to be negative.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's like,
simple.
It's kind of like our human nature. It's easy to bitch about shit.
Yeah.
It's easy about complain about stuff. And but it's hard to always find the good in something. So I think the reason a lot of people aren't positive is because it's hard. It takes work. You have to it's a perspective, the way you approach things, the way you look at things. Yeah. And then, and it takes work, man, to be positive every single day, man. It's not easy.
Yep. It takes a lot more energy to, the negativity part that you brought out, FP. I mean, you really got to insulate yourself from that, because it's really important what you let into this computer on your shoulders, right? You've got to jettison the bad stuff and keep in that positive stuff. And sometimes you got to be your own filter of just stay away from this and kind of delve into this over here, right?
Absolutely. And the decisions we make are important and critical. And I think what's also important is who we surround ourselves with as friends. Yep. And who we assimilate with in society, where, I don't have time for negative people, Steve. If I go on a couple of dates and the girl's complaining a lot about everything, or super negative, I can't be around that. Or if I make a new friend and he's like always bitching and moaning about stuff, like I can't be around that. I'm not better than them just because I'm positive. It doesn't make me better than somebody else. It's just, that's not what I associate with or gravitate to. But on the other side, if I find somebody like yourself that's always got energy, always upbeat, always positive, like Eric Burns is one of my best friends. He's always upbeat. He's always positive about everything. And we check each other all the time. And those are the people I like to be around. So when you surround yourself with people that are positive and always looking at the bright side of things and realistic too, you can't just be like, rainbows every day. Like life is life. Mm-hmm. But if you gravitate to an energy, I think, and somebody that has an energy that is more positive than negative. But you can't always be positive, dude. That's just not realistic.
Yep. FP, I don't know if you've ever read the book As a Man Thinketh. I quote this book all the time. It's written by a man named James Allen, written in 1902. And he talks about that. He said, the soul always goes back to what it secretly loves and what it secretly fears. And it'll gravitate to its greatest aspiration or to the lowest levels. And so it's up to you which one you're going to pick, right? And that's what you're talking about, making a decision, making a choice in your life about, what you really love, what you're going to stick with. And I think that's reflective on what comes out of our life, what we choose to do. And I wanted to ask you about your KMBR show because it focuses on that positivity, but how's the feedback and what's that been like on your show? I was on your show and I thought, dang, I could go on this thing all the time. Who doesn't like this?
Well, the feedback's been great from the listeners. There's a text line on there.
You're in a tough place because you're 7 to 10. It's like, yeah, they're listening towards the end of the drive, but you know what I mean? So that's a tough market sometimes.
You know what's weird, Steve, is I can sit there and today I'll probably break down, I'm going to talk about a lot of things that are sports related. But when I get into the deep stuff like we've talked about today, the phone lines light up, the text messages light up, my Twitter lights up. People are so thirsty to hear stuff like this. And when I start to get deep on the radio and talk about being authentic in that class that I went to, Burns and I did an interview a lot like this on the air one night. And it's just like, I had like the CEO of Match.com messaged me. It's just like, people are like, where did you take this class? I want to do this. Wow. So people out there they're sick of hearing like, the left tackle missed the block and he got sacked and the coach's plays were horrible. And why don't we do this? And I think sports talk radio, it's not easy, especially when you do it by yourself every night for 4 hours. But I think people are they tune out when you just start talking about sports all the time. So I I had a Michelin star chef on last week and we talked about Christmas recipes and stuff like that. So I like to just have it, it's my show. I can drive it in any direction I want. Yeah. And a lot of times it gets off into these weird tangents like we're talking about right now. But I love that, dude. Like I'm an armchair psychologist, man. I love psychology.
That's it.
I love all of it. I love sports psychology when I played. Now I like life psychology since I've retired. Mm-hmm. It's kind of one of my passions.
That's why I like doing my podcast because we can go in any direction that we wish. But listen, we're getting close to crunch time now. I got to ask you a couple things about today's game. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you like the changes? Some of them, yes. Some of them, no. How do you sit right now?
Well, there's so many changes coming up this year that I think are going to change the way baseball is played.
I can't figure them all out.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the old guy that get off my lawn and baseball sucks now. But I don't know, right. 2 throwovers, Steve. You'd had 100 stolen bases if you want. Like the bases are bigger, so all of a sudden he throws over twice. Now you're going, or the clock runs to 3, 2, 1. You take off, right. So the game has changed. I think somebody's going to flirt with a 400 average this year because there's no shift anymore. Lefties can pull the ball hard on the ground, start getting on top of it.
The FP's talking about the pitch clock and also the ability to throw over. They're going to limit the times that you can throw over to first base. So you get him to throw over, you get a one-way lead. He throws over there a couple of times. Now you're going because he can't throw over anymore.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it is the game. It's like pizza. I like frozen pizza. I like gourmet pizza. I like all kinds of different pizza, right? And I love pizza no matter how you make it. I love baseball no matter how it is. And I don't want to be the guy that sits here. I don't understand the analytic part of it yet. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I think the old school approach, if you're just old school now, you're going to get left in the dirt. If you're all analytics now, I think you're going to be too math.
Yep.
It's got to be a combination of both of them. And it's our game, man. It's baseball. So I'm going to love baseball no matter what. I just think if we keep tinkering with it too much and we keep changing it too much, a lot of the suits on Park Avenue aren't seeing the collateral damage from these tiny little rule changes they're making and how it affects the game as a whole. And I think we got to be really careful with that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, look, I'm old school, kind of like you know what, but if you don't use the analytics, how dumb are you? But if you constantly just live in the analytical part and don't trust the baseball acumen of your manager, why have them there? Have a computer in the dugout, just call out the moves.
Right.
So I think both.
Right. And I think, there's certain organizations that are more analytically driven than others.
Yep.
So we'll see, Steve. I love baseball no matter how it is. If they want to throw their bats in the air now and they want to show people up and, if we stood there for 2 seconds, we were getting drilled the next time. But now the game has changed and hey, my favorite thing, if I had one thing to do and I could unretire tomorrow, is break up a double play. With a runner on first and third, one out, I'm breaking up the double play, and I come back to the dugout a hero because I sent you into left field while you were turning it, and the run scored, and then you come back like you hit a home run to the dugout. Like, that part of the game is gone now. There's no breaking up double plays. There's no running over catchers.
Where's the personality? Where's the arguments? You can't have those anymore.
No, because you have replay. So you just do this. You just put the headphones on, and they do the headphones, replay, and so, yeah, I would love to break up a double play again. I miss that part of baseball.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. Hey, got to ask you one more. Aaron Judge, how close were the Giants to getting him? I really thought, Aaron's from Linden, Northern California. I thought he had a serious chance to go there. Thought the Giants had the inside track.
I think they did, too. And I think he was sincere in wanting to be a San Francisco Giant. I think they were close. I don't know anything other than what I heard Rich Aurilia say on the radio. They recruited him. I don't think he was using the Giants. That's just how free agency goes when you have two teams. Like, two people bid on a house. The price of the house is going to go way over market. Same kind of thing. I think he really wanted to play here. But as you know better than anybody, it's the Yankees, dude. You live that life yourself. And he has a chance to cement his legacy and have 99 out in Monument Park someday, be the captain like Derek Jeter. And this no knock against the Giants, because the Giants are one of the classiest organizations on the planet, one of the best organizations in baseball, period. But, once you're a Yankee, and once you've had success at New York, I mean, he's probably the king of New York. I don't even know how he can go out anywhere in New York. He's probably has to do the backdoor thing in the restaurant, the private room thing. Maybe he would have a little more comfort and privacy here than New York. But like I said on the air, they said the Giants are close to signing Aaron Judge. I'm like, there's no such thing as being close. You either sign him or you don't, because it's all it takes is Hal Steinbrenner to make one phone call to either match what the Giants are doing or up what the Giants are doing, and he's going to stay in New York, and that's what happened.
Well, yeah, he's got the most famous guy in New York. He's also 6'8". These people saying 6'7". I think he's closer to 6'9". But if let's say he's 6'8", you can't miss him, right? He's right out there in front of everybody, so he's not going to be missed. But FP, listen, I know we're getting close to time now. I just want to thank you for being on. I really do appreciate it. You made our podcast much better, and believe me, everybody here looking at you, when you say you're 56, that blows me away. You look 35, dude. You look 35 years old, and you rock. So keep up that positivity, and we can't thank you enough for being on the show with us. And I want to see you, hope to see you when you get back here in Sacramento next week. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Steve. And tell all those guys that say I look 35, I'm just going to limp upstairs now because my knees are hurting me so bad.
All right, man.
All right,
say hello to your pops.
Take care, Saxy.
If you like what you heard today, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share the program. Also, be sure to listen to my Sax in the Morning shorts 3 days a week for a couple of minutes of uplifting suggestions to get your day off to a great start. Our music is performed by my adorable niece, Elena Jane. And remember, to reach your goals and your dreams, follow your emotional heart. Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers. Good Greek Moving and Storage exists to provide you an extraordinary moving experience, period. They make the ethos of their every step from the moment of your first phone call all the way to the placement of your last end table in your new home. A stress-free, positive experience. Offering concierge services to answer all your questions, you can trust Good Greek Moving and Storage and Spiro the Hero with all your relocation needs. Good Greek Moving and Storage is the official movers of the Florida Gators, Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Bucks, Miami Heat, Miami Marlins, Florida International University, and the University of Miami. And thanks to Al Hendrickson Toyota for their support of this podcast. And be sure to visit alhendricksontoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Thanks to Goya for their support of today's episode. It's no wonder Goya's commitment to excellence is the cornerstone of the company credo. If it's Goya, it has to be good.